It's one of those ones, just been like that long weekend. I've definitely not enough sleep in the last like 3 days. It's like that point where it's like, where am I? That kind where it's like it's it's early morning and you're like it feels like it's like I've been up all night long and then it's back again.
Well, I guess you've had a lot of side jobs because you get people getting ready for, well, first off, wedding season. Secondly, it's also a bunch of people getting ready to graduate and all that. So you probably have a lot of side gigs and parties going on for you.
That, and that's also, it's the classic when it rains, it pours. It's like I have a bunch of video editing projects come in. It's that kind of thing that like you could go by for so many weeks and be like, oh, I got all this kind of excess time to, like maybe obviously work on the comic book and all that kind of fun stuff. But then it's like all of a sudden all this freelance work just like right at once. It's like, oh, okay. And I mean, yeah, I'm gonna take it. Like, I'm not gonna say no. I'm not a fucking pussy. You take that like a man and you do it. You strap your boots
take that
on.
Freelance dick and you say, yes, sir, may I have another.
Yeah, you strap up the boots and you go to town on it. So just by doing that, it's like literally, it's like go.
Got your blowjob boots on, I see. All right, you're in the right place.
So it's just at that point where it's like, okay, it's like you start a video rendering. Okay, when I come back home, it'll be ready, and then go set up some audio, and then just like a constant like 16, 18-hour days. And my downfall is you get to that point where like, I mean, I feel like this is like the bane of anybody who like works on a computer. But like when you're going like to download a video file and you're like, okay, I can leave this computer alone, and when I get back home, it's everything's gonna be there and it's all gonna be fine and dandy. But I don't know what it is. It feels like a computer's always like a child. Like the second you take the eyes away from it, it just fucking stops doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Calls a bunch of friends over. Next thing you know, there's a bunch of fucking viruses on your computer. Like, I don't know how it happened. I left it alone just for a minute. Let me close this window.
Jesus Christ. It's like you're on the 4th story and it sounds like someone was just like driving up the side of your building.
Didn't know it was gonna be that fucking loud. Jesus.
Yeah, God, yeah. Felt like you're just like outside, like like a semi truck backing in, but no, that's just what it's been like. It's just like, dude, are you? I left you here alone all day long so you can get your part of the job done, so that when I get back, I can do my part of the job, and you get this failure. Come on.
The only thing is, if you hit a kid, chances are, you might mentally scar him for life. But it's just like, well, I won't fucking do it again. Where a computer, it's one of those things where it's just like, gosh, if I hit it, then it's broken. So then that's on me.
Yeah, so I can't hit it. You know what I mean? So then it'll be emotionally scarred.
Physically scarred.
Yeah, but yeah, just those things. Sometimes those computers.
Just joke, folks. Don't hit your kids.
Well, unless they're out of line.
Most of the time.
If they're fucking talking to the movie during a movie, you fucking slap the shit out of those kids. I don't care. Yeah. You pull them to the side, slap them around, tell them like, okay, you act up one more time, we're taking you out. You don't ever get to go to the movies again until you're 18.
Just because Pikachu is talking right now doesn't mean you should be talking.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have fucking Ryan Reynolds powers.
So I'll be honest. Look, sounds like you've had a pretty active week. I'm coming in here with nothing other than this movie. Then I'm assuming it's probably somewhere in the title.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's one of those ones where I have a very active week. It's not very interesting. It wasn't like before where it's like, hey, like during this like big old rodeos and parades, there's all these cool stories. It's like, no, I didn't see nothing, nothing exciting. Mostly, there's always something like there's like I remember one year there was that float that I told you about where I was like there was like one where it's like the Confederate Sons of California, and you're like, the fuck is that? I mean,
I imagine the fucking state of what was it?
State of Jefferson. Yeah, God, they didn't have one either. It was all the right wing like floats were like totally gone. There was one like Democrat. It wasn't even a float. Let's be honest. It was like 3 people walking out there of like signs. Is what the Democratic
holding
was.
Someone in like a radio flyer wagon behind him.
Yeah, that's what this one was. Like those Confederate ones kind of went a little bit more to town, but yeah, the Democrat one was like, we can make America great again. It's like, oh, that's a real original slogan you got going there.
A Democratic float in Tuolumne County. It seems like, all right, you guys going out there with like some riot gear with you?
Yeah, it's just
because you might need it.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I get it. I mean, the Democratic office is right there, but it's just
I bet this last election it was covered in barbed wire. Like, no, just please leave us alone. Please leave us alone.
But
wait.
Yeah. Nothing really. No interesting good stories I have from any of that. But that's okay because there was Detective Pikachu, and by that, this is Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes,
and I'm Ryan Dunigan.
But Detective Pikachu was pretty darn cool overall. I mean, like, it's one of those ones. Like, I know, like, I think some people walked up and they're like, it's good, but like it could have been better. I'm like, well, yeah, it could have been better. That's definitely true. But I feel like it's totally like, I kind of expect it to just be a good gateway movie so that anybody could kind of get into Pokemon. And I feel like it, one, really accomplishes that. And two, I thought it actually gave me more Pokemon than I even thought it was going to.
Here's the thing with that movie. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, but I wasn't blown away by it. And that's not me sitting there arms crossed going like, gonna be a lot of spoilers there, folks. That's not me arms crossed going, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, because I kind of went into I never played the game Detective Pikachu. I know that Mewtwo's involved somehow, but I don't how closely this thing follows it, I don't know. So watching this movie, it was one of those things where I've heard a handful of early reviews saying where people our age who were like fans of Pokemon were saying like, oh, it's really good. Maybe this part was a little predictable or whatever, but overall it's pretty good. Then you hear other people who are not into Pokemon saying, it was enjoyable. I was a little confused near the end, but it was an enjoyable movie, but it didn't blow me away. And I think that I went in there kind of thinking like, these guys are being too picky. Then watching it, I'm like, I kind of get where they're coming from.
The ending's weird. That's definitely, that's like the one part of the movie that I think is kind of like, that's the choice it doesn't
just one of those things where it's kind of like, well, we'll go in a beat by beat. It's just one of those movies, like, I'll say it wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. It was a good movie, and Ryan Reynolds is definitely funny, but I think since he was pulling back on all, like, his Deadpool-ness, there's only so many jokes he can make. There's still a lot of, like, underlining jokes. Like, I'm surprised this movie had a cocaine joke in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it does have... That's kind of the nice thing, though, is even though it's a Detective Pikachu movie, it plays like a PG-13 movie, which I think it is, I guess.
It's PG.
Is it really PG? Shit, it does not feel like a PG movie at all. That's the weird part about the movie. It feels very much like a PG-13 one, because it really feels like a movie that, like, you could take kids to it, but it's totally made for adults. And that's why I almost give it, like, way more credit. It's like 100%, like, it's an adult Pokemon movie, not like adult, like, that sounds... nobody's fucking a Pokemon, let's just say that.
I'll give it time. They'll make I'm sure there's... Well, I'm guaranteed there's already fan art out there of that, especially with fucking Pikachu, since using those ears, putting them to use. Shooting my handlebars, probably. Yeah.
You know what I really love, too, is that they played the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer before the movie. Because that was one of those ones where it felt weird. Like, I almost didn't expect that Sonic the Hedgehog one to be actually in theaters and be like, oh, shit, maybe we should pull this and we'll come back to the marketing scheme. It's like, oh, they showed it? That's awesome. Just to see that it's all its Sonic glory on the big screen.
Now, I went to see this at a little, like, indie theater down the road, and they don't really... all their trailers really aren't super up to date. I mean, they have trailers for like movies coming out, but it's one of those things they won't have the brand newest trailers. They only play like one or two of them.
It's like a trailer because it's like, oh, Avengers 2, huh?
Yeah, like, oh, you guys are a little late. Like, well, an Avengers movie is out, just not this one, but I get where you're coming from. No, like, it'll show like, oh, here's the teaser to Lion King, like the first trailer to Lion King, like the teaser. Oh, here is maybe the first trailer to Dark Phoenix or something like that. So movies that are coming out, but maybe not the most up-to-date trailer. So we didn't see the Sonic trailer in theaters, but I'm kind of wondering, since you saw it, I'm assuming you saw it on Thursday when it's probably packed, was there people like, oh my god, or were there people like, that looks pretty good?
I couldn't hear anybody because I was in the bottom row area. But it sounded like, you could kind of hear like people like, oh, here's the Sonic trailer. Because, obviously the people that are going to see Detective Pikachu, like, Thursday, that's not, like, one of those movies that, like, there's definitely a target audience for it. I feel like that's, someone's parents aren't just going to go walking in to Detective Pikachu. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just by themselves. Like, oh, little Billy always liked this Pokemon thing. You know what? Maybe it's time for me to give it a chance. I mean, there was that one time we had to take him to go see Pokemon the first movie, and they had that intro of 20 minutes of Pokemon just talking and babbling and pantomiming, and I was just like, the fuck is going on, you know? But
I never thought of suicide before, but that day was kind of a first for me.
And then shit, a good thing up is the credits start rolling. I'm like, oh, glad that was over. Whew. That was the longest hour and a half. And then another movie starts playing. I'm like, the fuck?
That'd be so confusing for adults. Like, was it over that quickly? Shit, thank Christ. Oh wait, no, not again, not again.
But so you could tell that like it seemed like the target age range for right off the bat was generally I probably would say about 30 and below. Maybe a little bit older.
Yeah,
maybe 35 and below. I'd say. Let's go a little bit higher.
That's probably what this movie's aimed at. Like people our age taking their kids to see it, and it's one of those things where I think also people who didn't even play it a whole lot but are addicted to the Let's Go game, or not Let's Go, but Pokemon Go on the phone. Mm-hmm. I think those people would probably go see this movie too. Like, oh, well, I caught these things on my phone a couple of times, so I'll check out the movie. That being said, I mean, I think this movie's still probably going to do good, but I don't know if it's going to make the huge splash that they're making out to be, because a lot of people getting early screenings and saying it was really good, or people don't, I don't know, I noticed
probably
most of them...
paid.
Not even that, possibly, but younger people that grew up with Pokemon. So, I don't know if this thing's going to make that huge dent like they were hoping it would, but moving forward, I mean, I'll say this, I want to see another one. Maybe not Detective Pikachu, but another movie set in this universe. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think overall, it's still a pretty darn solid movie. You know what I mean? Like, it definitely can be better, but like, and I think it's just one of those ones, like, if you wanted to get somebody somewhat involved in the Pokemon universe, this movie's a great way to kind of show it. And I like how it also takes place, like, in the normal Pokemon world. Like, so realistically, Ash and Brock and all those people are all out there. We're just in another region. So I thought that was kind of cool. They didn't just... I mean, obviously it's a new region, but it's not like they just made something out of their butt. Like, oh, Pokemon takes place in Seattle, and how about that? You know what I mean? It's like, no. It's still normal Pokemon. It's just, here's this other area. Now, this is the one thing they do that's kind of weird, but I'm not too sure if they're trying to play safe, because that's the only thing about this movie. This movie has definite, like they're trying to play it a little bit safe. And I mean, granted, I wasn't expecting to be, like, hardcore Pokemon as much as possible. But I think they want to do, like, well, you know what? The Pokemon fighting might be a little bit offensive to people. You know, people don't like cockfighting. They might not like Pokemon fighting. So, let's just, like, this town has a guy who's like, yo, Pokemon and humans can live together. Fuck it, we don't have to fight. You know what I mean? I could put them to fucking work. They could direct traffic, and, you know, pretty much what this guy did is he watched a little too much Flintstones, and he's like, you know what? Here's the thing. These Pokemon, like, okay, they could live out in the wild, and we could go out there and capture and battle them, but imagine them, you know, running an elevator, you know, working at a bus stop. You know, like, come on, like, think about the possibilities we have. We could have Pokemon that are police officers.
You got a Snorlax and a Slowbro running a weed dispensary.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. There's all kinds of possibilities. And think, in the home, everybody's got their own Pokemon. You know what I mean? It's like having your own butler. Doesn't everybody want their own Alfred? I know I do.
Yeah, well, I think that might be in the game. I don't know if it is. Maybe that was their way to ease in, saying, oh yeah, there is Pokemon battles going on out there, but we just don't focus on that. We're just focusing on this particular city where that's not allowed. And I knew that going in, but it's one of those things where, I kind of figured that was going to happen. I knew that we would get some action in there because, you know, you saw the whole part with Charizard and all that, but that was more of him just trying to survive. But that whole thing, I think this movie I think if you just opened up with people not knowing how Pokemon works, then be like, wait, so they're just cool with people enslaving these things? But since that they have this, okay, here's a place where you can't capture them, they live part of, like humans in this city, that's one of those things I think they're like, okay, well, it's a choice, and it's not a big deal if they're caught. Because even the very beginning, one thing I like, well, the very beginning, they open up with Mewtwo escaping out of this
research lab.
Yeah, research facility.
It's like mental hospital. He escapes out of Arkham.
Yeah.
It's a Warner Brothers movie. Shit, why not?
Waiting for that crossover. Yeah. No, he escapes out of this research facility and then blows a car off the road. And then moving forward, we see Justice Smith's character Tim out in the woods, and I think the guy he's with, I didn't recognize it at first.
Is that the Deadpool taxi cab driver?
Yeah, I think that's him. Because I was like, that dude looks so familiar, and I cannot narrow it down who it was, but yep, Deadpool. He plays Dopender in Deadpool.
Now, is that the same guy who's going to be in that upcoming oh shit, trying to blank on his name right now. The wrestler in Guardians of the Galaxy, Batista. He's like, there's a movie where it's pretty much Batista, and he like captures a cab driver, and he pretty much forces him into like his action raid of whatever the heck he's doing, and it's just like literally like there's an Uber driver who looks identical to the cab driver in Deadpool, and all I can think is like, is this guy gonna literally get typecast as just like a cab driver for anybody?
Let me go back to that dude's page. In all honesty, maybe it is that guy. I thought it was the dude playing Dinesh from Silicon Valley, which, if it's not, I'm going to suddenly feel a little bad. But let's find out here. Just a quick second. What's that movie called?
God, I can't remember. I only saw the trailer once for it, and it was a little bit a while ago. It's like I
think I would recognize it if I saw it. I don't think that's it.
Okay, well, no worries then. I kind of wonder, because it's just like, I'm like, is that the same one? Like, because that's totally like, get thrown. I mean, I guess whatever, it works, but, strangely enough, though, in Pokemon, though, that they never come back around that character. He's just there at the beginning to be like, yo, dude, you can finally get your own Pokemon. Look, there's a Cubone over there, which I will say, that kind of intro scene, though, feels very Pokemon. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, that really gives you a feeling of, like, Pokemon, in a sense, in a live-action type movie, you know?
And I really like that. It makes me want to see more of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I felt like that right there was almost like, oh, that's the perfect, like, kind of, like, feeling of getting that Pokemon, like, oh, we're going to go out and capture. But the nice thing, though, is even though you got this town where, like, yeah, it is kind of different than what you're used to, you know what I mean? It's almost like having a Final Fantasy movie, like, yeah, we don't really fight, you know, what do you do with the swords? Well, I don't know, we use it to cut onions and stuff. That's why we have them. You know, it's like, fighting, no, that's silly. Well, how do you get experience? Oh, but we get experience just by, you know, doing normal daily tasks. You know, don't worry, once you get used to it, it's really great. You're going to love this way to get experience. You know, no more battling, you know, just do what you're normally doing. So, you know, when you go to the store, you get a little bit of experience. You know, when you have to go pick the kids up from soccer, you get experience.
That sounds like some shit people would tell you, like, look, out in the world, there's adventure. That's dangerous. That can get you hurt. Tell you what you should do. Just go to your job. Just keep doing it. Don't question nothing. And things will pan out.
Yeah.
You ever have that feeling of a sense of, like, you know, that sense of wanting to explore? Ignore it. Just bottle it up. It's the weirdest thing to have in a fucking fantasy adventure game.
Yeah, so odd, but that's sort of how this world is, but it still, like, works in a way. I mean, like, it's one of those things, like, I feel if they stayed with this, like, if the next Pokemon movie didn't go back to, like, battles and, like, what you kind of want Pokemon to be, I feel like that'd be the wrong move. For this one singular movie, it's fine. And it's like, they still talk about, because it's like, you know, they got that scene where, like, you know, people use, or, like, in other regions, battle Pokemon, they show that guy who just looks so much like Red or whatever, and he's just, like, all intense, almost anime-like, throwing out, you know, I can't remember what Pokemon he had, but, like, they show, like, this big old Pokemon Stadium battle going on.
Yeah, well, I think moving forward, they're do have more of that, because everyone who likes Pokemon is saying they want more Pokemon battles for whatever this next movie is. But the whole thing I liked about that opening scene is it gets across, I guess it's not really the opening scene, but I guess almost a scene that kind of just quickly explains the world, and without holding your hand too hard. They first off got a little bit of lore in there, like old school lore, like the whole thing about how Cubone wears the skull of its mother or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I thought that too. It's like it wears its relative's mother or relative's skull. God.
Ancestors, whatever. Yeah, and the whole part where he says, like, look, I know that you're done with Pokemon. You don't really want to catch your Pokemon anymore, but you know, I think Cubone is totally your type. You're not a grass type. You're not a ground type. You're not a grass type. You're not a water type. I think Cubone's your guy. Like. Lonely, you just see this poor Cubone out there screaming and crying, just like having a little temper tantrum out of like loneliness. I thought that part was actually kind of funny, and I liked that part. I'm not gonna lie, I felt bad for that Cubone.
I know, I did too, you know. But I did feel like that gave like a good, and plus I also think just using Cubones, like that's always an awesome Pokemon, you know what I mean? It's like, there you go. It's like, why is that Cubone not in the marketing of everything? Like I will say the Pokemon that they chose to market for all like the toys and like tie-ins at 7-Eleven and so on are so weird. It's like, you know, it's like, okay, Pikachu, of course, get that. That's totally fine. But then it's like, okay, Psyduck, I get Psyduck. He's one of the main characters sort of in it too. But then they chose like that
Mr. Mime.
No, Mr. Mime's not. I haven't seen him on any of the things yet.
I have, but yeah.
Have you? Well, at least they're not 7-Eleven at least. But I mean, Mr. Mime would be cool in this. She was like that Psyduck that's pretty much at the bar. That one
the sombrero looking thing.
Yeah, that kind of like, I know it's not Psyduck, but it's like kind of like a Psyduck like thing, like that one, which is like, that's so weird for like that character's. You have Charizard in the movie, just letting you guys know.
That has to be one of those things that responded really well in the like, you know, audience test screenings, because just plus there's that part they show in the trailer where the thing just goes like, hey, can I get another shot, extra dark, thank you sweetie, whatever. The thing goes cross like that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed on that part of the trailer just because this thing just spazzing me out right there. I don't know why, but it's also one of those things like, remember that movie 47 Ronin? They were heavily it was a movie about samurai, and they're heavily advertising some bald pirate dude with a tattoo of a skull on his face. And all he's a guy like, hey, where's the front door? Oh, that way. That's all that guy is. They had that guy like on so many posters.
Yeah,
so something just must have been tested well with that guy in the audience. Same thing with that weird green duck and the sombrero.
Yeah, and then also Ken Watanabe's Pokemon, the thing that's got like the bulldog face from Gold and Silver. Drawing a blank on its name.
Snubbles or whatever.
Yes, yeah, Snuggle or Snubble. There we go. That thing too. It's like that's the other one you're marketing, and like the thing too is like, I've bought pretty much all like the Pikachu stuff from 7-Eleven because I'm like, well, fuck it, that's what I want. I bought like one Psyduck cup just because I like the cup so much. I'm like, if my Pikachu one breaks, at least I got a Psyduck one. But then it's like, I want the straw. So the only thing I'm missing is the Slurpee straw that they have, and it's like, I just want the Pikachu one. I technically don't want the other ones. Not saying. I mean, I'll probably break down and get the Psyduck one if that's the only thing left. But it's like, I'd rather just have the Pikachu one. But it's just, I look at this movie, I'm like, this is the Pokemon, because these are all in the trailer anyways. Should have been Pikachu, Charizard, Mewtwo, and then maybe one random one. I'm fine with one random one, like, you know, or Psyduck. Like, that would have been perfect. Pikachu, Charizard, Mewtwo, Psyduck. There you go. I mean, granted, you don't have any gold and silver or anything else in there, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things where there are so many characters in this, and I'm just glad they had an emphasis on the original, because those are the ones I know. They'll probably know, like, everyone knows the originals, so just focus on the originals, but we still have these other guys in there. That being said, moving forward with this movie, when the kid finds out that his dad apparently died, and he's going to Rhyme City. He hasn't seen his dad since he was a kid, since his mom died, and here's where I'm going into bigger spoilers right here. Bigger spoilers for anybody who wants to see the movie. As soon as they were avoiding showing the dad's face, I knew it was Ryan Reynolds. I mean, that's probably... I mean, a lot of people from looking at the trailer, like, Pikachu's probably Ryan Reynolds. But knowing that right there, and then when they kept on not showing the dad's face, I'm like, yeah, all right.
Well, they try to throw the curveball at you because the kid's black. I think that's how they're trying to block you, you know what I mean? Because it's one of those ones.
Well, you could still see the dad was white. You still could see like some of his hands and the back of his head and all that.
Oh, could you? I didn't remember. Because I just remember there's that scene where it's like he's all in like the dark and silhouetted, and you can't really see him. But so maybe that's the case. Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, you guys tricked me last time on Spider-Man. When just like, oh, Michael Keaton's her dad. Oh, okay, you know. But that so got me last time. But now ever since I've been very keen. Like, now you're trying to pull Spider-Man Homecoming here. All right.
Yeah, well, that's the weirdest part. Well, it's not that the Ryan Reynolds being the dad part's weird. I think that the weird part's when, I mean, I know this jumps to the very end, is the fact that Mewtwo's like, it's okay, I can fix it all. Here, you know, your dad died, well, guess what? You know, he's back again, and then Pikachu's back again, because, you know, when they got in that car accident, I just pulled your dad's mind out and just erased Pikachu's, because fuck it, he's a Pokemon, he doesn't deserve it. Just put your dad in there, and there you go. And then when it's like, he comes back, like, well, why is he back? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
I want to say it's like he did something where he teleported, like he didn't destroy his body, but he you know, I don't know, transported his body somewhere and then put his brain into the Pikachu, or maybe he like departicleized his body and kept it, I don't know, in his brain or whatever. It was just...
Well, it's not like he just took his mind and just took the mind out of there and then put it into... Like, he pretty much, like, he downloaded, like, the brain files into Pikachu, but he had to erase Pikachu's mind to do it. Which I'm fine with that. That sounds fine. Like, you know what I mean? But I think when they try to, like, reverse it, I'm like, that's the only part of the movie where, I really kind of go, I mean, whatever, I'll go along with it, but that's kind of weird.
Well, the whole scheme, because at the end, you know, the second you see Bill Nye, because he's the guy who assembles Rhyme City. He's the guy, he's in a wheelchair, and he's like the one guy who's very helpful, and he's a rich old man saying, my son is out of control. You have to stop him. The second that was happening, I was like, okay, I know that this guy's the bad guy, and that's not me being so, oh, I'm so clever or anything. That's just one of those things that, like, that's just a trope in a lot of these kind of movies. Usually the one guy helping him is the one guy that's going to fuck him over later down the line, especially if he's rich.
Especially if he's in a wheelchair, too, because we all know that a lot of times people with, like, power in wheelchairs can be real dicks. I don't know why that is. You don't want it to be that way, but you just see how it is, you know, like those people that, like, think they own fucking parking lots and stuff like that because they're...
It's like, dude, you got the best parking space. Don't be so mad.
Yeah, shit, yeah. You should be grateful. Like, we cater to you because you're in a wheelchair. You know? In the olden days, they would have just tossed you out to, like, the wolves and called it a day. Just saying. Think of where you are now.
Progression. No, but, going off that, so Bill Nye, you knew this the second you saw him, like, all right, he's the bad guy. Moving on, though, in the movie, when you realize his plan is... He wants to, using technology, because they managed to capture Mewtwo, he wants to transport his mind into Mewtwo, because he thinks Pokemon are better than people. So he wants to take people's minds and put them in the bodies of Pokemon. Which, for yourself, okay, I get. I think that in itself is kind of a good enough bad guy scheme to just want to get your body and put it into yourself. Okay, get this Pokemon and put your brain into it. I think that it's because, you know, Mewtwo's basically a god or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, that's a good enough bad guy scheme. I'm down with that. And then he's just like, now I'm going to do this 1989 Batman parade thing where all this smoke comes down among all these people where it kind of makes Pokemon temporarily insane. Like, okay, that in itself works as another good bad guy thing depending on what your goal is. And then he's like... And when they're slightly insane for a minute, that's where you're able to control their minds and, like, switch bodies. I'm like, wait, what? So the whole thing that's where all the people get dissolved and they get turned into Pokemon. That's where, I don't know. I mean, I know it's a Pokemon movie, but that just sounded just a little silly to me. Like, that whole scheme was just a little too, I don't know, a little too Saturday morning cartoony for me.
Yeah, because it sounds weird. It's like, it doesn't really feel like something like Pokemon. It feels like somebody else had another idea for another movie, and they're like, well, that ain't gonna work. But if we slap it on with a Pokemon label, let's try that.
Sorry, the volume went out for a second. I apologize. But you're saying it just didn't seem like something that would work with another movie?
Well, it's something that just wouldn't work for, like, I feel like it's not really a Pokemon thing. It felt like that was an idea that someone had for another movie, but they're like, you know what, put it in a Pokemon movie. Let's try that instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch of things you could have done to make it kind of, you know, because the thing is, that's a very silly, kind of goofy type, I get what he's trying to do. He wants to put human minds into Pokemon. I get that for himself, but for, like, I want the world to do this too! Like, that's where it seems kind of like... Why? Why do you give a shit about what other people are like, you know? Because right there, it just seems kind of silly, because then you see, like, oh, that's Ken Watanabe running around in the body of a Snubbles, and that brings up the question, well, what are the people that don't have a Pokemon with them?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like, and I understand for the villain, because he's in a wheelchair, he's rich, you know, he's bored probably, he's like, shit, if I'm Mewtwo, I can fly, I could do magic, I could be awesome, I can be a god to these people, so I get that part. You know, but I just, yeah, that was kind of like, it's weird. It's just like, this movie's like one of those ones, like, it works really well. It's like the last bit of it, which is still good, but it just makes some kind of odd choices that you're like, well, okay.
Yeah, and even the final battle going on right there, that's all cool. It's just the idea of just him just erasing people and switching their minds with putting their minds in Pokemon, just kind of weird. Like, if that was like a quick little... And I guess you had to do that to explain how Ryan Reynolds got there, but I mean, you can kind of quickly explain it away with how Mewtwo switched them. I'll say this, though. When he first puts his brain, or his mind into Mewtwo, and Mewtwo opens his eyes and smiles with his teeth, that is one of the most fucking unsettling things ever.
Yeah, that's pretty cool looking, though. It is one of those ones where it's like, oh god, here we go. Something's gonna go down. Pikachu's gonna have a big old battle here now.
Mm-hmm. Which I will give the movie credit. I know that he's in the game, but I give the movie credit for saying, okay, first movie out, let's throw in Mewtwo.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those ones, I guess, because, like, they probably were weighing the odds, like, well, what's one of the other biggest Pokemon things? Well, Pokemon, the first movie, you know what I mean? So we'll use kind of the Mewtwo, Pikachu dynamic and go through there. You know, I mean, granted, this is the other thing I really do like about it, is that they do use a lot of Pokemon from all the other games throughout it, too. Like, stuff, like, that you wouldn't expect. Like, almost this one of these movies, like, and I noticed this has become, like, a kind of a cool, like, new sort of way of making films where there's so much cool shit going on in the backgrounds of them. I just feel it's kind of like the Ready Player One thing, where it's just like you almost want to not look at what's happening in the foreground and just see what you can find like deep in like the setting there.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, when like I was first really into Pokemon, and I was trying to think out a story in my head. I'm like, we got to make room for this guy. Got to make room for this guy. And like, there's too many to kind of like focus on. This movie did the right thing. Like, yeah, well, you just take the ones you do focus on, give them more to do, and then you just have a bunch in the background. Because this thing is just littered with everything in the background. Nearly, like, and going back to the final battle just for a second, though, I kind of thought that was cool how they sort of made I mean, the whole movie seems kind of like a light homage to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but the thing at the very end, definitely an homage to Roger Rabbit.
Oh, yeah, by far. I think so.
Because when you first see a Ditto, because, like, you know, the guy's is like, I have a prick son who's trying to take over my company and try to weed me out. Can you take care of him? Like, oh, yeah, sure thing, Bill Nye. When have you ever played a bad guy? And, which I'll say this about Bill Nye. He's either the nicest guy in the room, or he is, like, the most evil bastard ever, depending on what movie. A lot of time he's the bad guy, but every so often he'll be, like, in, like, About Time or something, he'll, like, be the most lovable, you know, likable character in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But this movie right here, though, when you first see that, like, there's a Ditto and it turns into a person just in the background, like, okay, that's going to come back in some way. At some point, somebody is going to be a Ditto. I don't know who, but somebody's going to be a Ditto. And I'll be honest, seeing a chick dressed in pink wearing glasses didn't occur to me right there. But then once she walks in the room when all the final battle shit's going on, and she takes off her eyes and they're like black and beady, I'm like, oh, all right, okay, cool, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I thought the Ditto use was actually pretty good. And the same thing, I didn't catch that either. I was just like, well, she's, you know, whatever, her security, or his security, so of course she's probably just wearing sunglasses. That's kind of normal. I kind of forgot about, like, oh yeah, that's the one trait, is when Ditto changes into anybody, he keeps his original eyes. That's how you know it's like a fraud. But that I felt kind of worked, and it had almost that. It gave it sort of the classic video game villain, because that's always like, you know, you think about fighting games so many times, like what's the final battle or final boss's, you know, skill set is that he always has kind of like he has everybody's moves, or he has the best of everybody's moves, or he can change into things. You know, it doesn't matter if it's like Mortal Kombat or if it's Street Fighter or Virtual Fighter or something like that. Well, not Street Fighter necessarily, but there's always that kind of character like. It kind of has like the clone moves. Even Soul Calibur has it and everything like that too, you know. So I felt like that kind of works to use Ditto is like kind of the villain's Pokemon.
Yeah, and she even looked really creepy because she started to turn into other cast members from the movie just with pitch black eyes. And that was creepy and unsettling, and I thought that worked. It just totally reminded me of Chris Lloyd's character from Who Framed Roger Rabbit when his sunglasses fall off.
Yep, exactly. Totally has that feel to it.
And I think that was totally intentional. I don't think that's a coincidence.
No, I think so as well. But yeah, no, that part really works well. This thing is like, there's a lot of stuff that does work well in this movie. It's just there's just some like just those odd choices. That's about all I can really kind of say. Just there's a couple things where it's like, huh. Not the worst. It's not like one of those choices that makes you angry. It just makes you kind of go, oh, okay.
Well, I'll say this. The movie didn't blow me away, but I liked it. And you know what? I think maybe I got to let it sink in. Because every so often you see a movie and it's one of those things where, you know what? I liked it more than I thought I did, or maybe the other way around. But I at this moment, I feel like I wouldn't mind owning it. Maybe not day one, maybe when it goes down in price a little bit. But I wouldn't mind owning the movie. So that's something. At the same time, though, it seems kind of, because there are moments where it sort of feels like it's, because the Pokemon anime movies don't seem like they're trying to get anybody other than the fans of the anime who already like that. Where this is like, okay, let's try and bring in some fans, let's try to bring in some new people. Where there are times where the movie sort of feels like, oh no, we're overacting like this because it's a kids movie. But not everybody plays it like that. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds' Pikachu is probably the best character in the movie, and even though Justice Smith is just playing the straight man and doesn't have a whole lot of funny things to say. He's playing it straight enough and reasonable enough to be likable, and you're on his side. But there's the girl who's the reporter. When she first comes in, she's playing that very over-the-top, cartoonish, hungry reporter, which can work, but it was just kind of a little like, all right, I get what you're doing. I get it's a noir, but it's a little over the top. And later in the movie, she kind of pulls it back a little bit,
Yeah, well, then you realize she's not a reporter, and she's just like an intern and so on. She's trying to get her first break. And she almost has this feeling like she's kind of like a Misty-like character.
That's especially since she
has a side duck.
She's not, it's not, she doesn't have her hair like in Misty fashion, but she looks kind of like, if I heard this was a Pokemon movie, not Detective Pikachu, if I just heard this was a Pokemon movie and I saw her, like, oh, that's what they're doing for Misty? Looks a little different, but okay, I can see it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would say, too, you know what I mean? And even the main character who also, because I remember at first when you kind of see a trailer, I was like, I don't want a Pokemon. It's just like, shut the fuck up. That's like that kid that you take and you beat the shit out behind the school building and be like, don't you fucking dare say that again in public. What the fuck is wrong with you? You ungrateful little bastard. You know what I mean? It's like, don't you, if you were given a gift from the gods, you don't just toss that to this curb. You know what I mean? And oddly enough, it's not so, like, it's those ones like, okay, yeah, he's not really into Pokemon. He's into, like, fucking insurance and shit. But, which is like one of those ones like, I guess somebody's got to take care of that in Pokemon. I guess somebody can't have a cool life in Pokemon. You know what I mean? You think of Pokemon being like, dude, everybody, like, lives the fucking dream in this world. And it's like, well, not everybody. Some people just...
Some people got to run the general store.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they can't afford to have their own Pokemon and so on. It kind of works. I mean, they do the thing where he's like, oh, hey, my father, he left to be, to be a Pokemon master or something like that. It's like, well, your dad was a police officer. It's like, he's like, yeah, but, Daddy was, at work. It's like, well, yeah, he's paying for your little life, you fucking insurance fraud salesman. He's like, well, don't stop doing that to me. I just wanted to see my dad. It's like, I got on a train. I said, no, I'm not going. It's like, but your dad wanted you to come see him. He's like, I didn't want to go see him. I just want to stay with Grandma and stay away from Pokemon.
Well, I'll say this. The whole thing with him is he feels bad about it. It's not like he still has this chip on his shoulder from even then. It's just, I didn't really, because usually a lot of times that type of, like, angry, ungrateful kid attitude thing really annoys me. Mm-hmm. But my thing is, he seems to be kind of like, all right, he had that moment as a kid, and then apparently his dad just buried himself in his work and all that. And he's like, and out of that, he's like, I don't, after losing his mom and all that, he just kind of lost it. And then moving forward, he's like, I wish I kind of made things up with my dad. I wish I fixed things with my dad, but he's dead now. So he's just trying to come to terms with that. So I kind of get where they're coming from, because, maybe he was a little shitty kid when he was younger, just angry and not being able to forgive, but now he does forgive and he can't. So I can understand that right there. I mean, the whole Pokemon thing just takes him back to, like, better days, but I don't want to remember. I just want to rather force a smile and sell insurance,
Yeah. No, yeah, it definitely is not, like, as bad as I feel like I was kind of making it out to be. It sort of, like, works in a way where it's like, okay, good, he's not, like, maybe he was the shitty kid for the longest time. Now it just seems like he's kind of over it. Like, you know what, my dad's dead, I just don't want to, like, let's just not talk about him anymore. That's almost how it sort of feels. Like, yeah. You know what, I never knew the guy, I don't care to know the guy. You know what I mean? It's like, he almost has, like, that neutral attitude. Like, he doesn't really care at all about his dad, but he also doesn't want to get, like, emotionally like, oh, I hate my dad, fuck him. He was a police officer, he was saving the world from terrorists and Team Rocket and stuff, and fuck him, he should have been at home, making waffles for me and shit, not like one of those
waffles. Kids. It's like, oh, we almost got you a Psyduck to make you waffles. Fuck it, it's not the same.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because he does have, like, all these posters, like, on his, like, old room or whatever, where it's like, he did want to be a Pokemon master at one point. Well, he almost has, like, that, you see this a lot, like, in high school, with people that, like, you kind of, like, know, where, like, they get to that point where there's, like, I call it, like, the breaking point, where maybe they had all these hopes and dreams as a kid, like, you know what, I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be an astronaut. It's gonna be fucking amazing, you know what I mean? Or I'm gonna, be a NASCAR driver, or or I'm gonna, whatever, be like, follow my dream, do whatever I want, and so on. And then, like, at like 17, somebody pretty much comes in with a mental baseball bat and just beats that idea out of them. And then they're just about at, like, age 19. They're like, well, I shouldn't be thinking like that. That's a kid's fantasy to become a Pokemon master. You know what? I gotta buckle down and go to school and get an insurance sales job and, just pay off my mortgage and call it good. That's it.
It's just like the idea they beat him down with like a mental baseball bat, like you said. They hit him, here's a card for Cisco, the food company. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Warehouse job? Yeah, with stock options. Oh, okay.
Because you see those kind of people that, like, at age 15, they would have had these hopes and dreams, and school would have kind of pumped them up for that maybe at a moment. Like, you know what, Billy, you can do whatever you want. Just all you got to do is believe and then, pay this college fees. And you can do whatever you want, Billy. You know what I mean?
Well,
and then they just...
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, and then it just kind of kicks in like a Bruce Springsteen song. Like, they just fuck up one too many times and they go, it's just not worth it. Dreams... Fuck them. They're not good. They give you lost hope and nowhere to go.
It's funny you say Bruce Springsteen, especially according to this, because that's actually what I named my Venusaur in Pokemon Let's Go.
Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah, named it Bruce, or just, it couldn't fit at all. It's just B. Springsteen.
Nice.
But I named my Charizard Dalton after Roadhouse.
Roadhouse?
Yeah.
But yeah,
this off topic. I just gotta spit that out there. But
it's still Pokemon.
All that stuff you were just saying about, it's kind of like he kind of had all these dreams, do this, then got kind of stuck in the monotony of it. I think that's good. They had that in this particular movie, and a lot of times people say that's kind of a cliche to have the whole thing about like I had dreams, but I don't do it anymore just because I grew up and changed. And then by the end of the movie, they're interested in that again. But I think for something like Pokemon, well, I mean, first off, that trope really speaks to a lot of people, so I understand why it's in things. But I think it really speaks to Pokemon because Pokemon's always about someone going off on an adventure and just having fun. We never really see the monotony and day-to-day boring life of someone in that world. So to be in a world surrounded by that, the world catered to that, and then be like, okay, I guess I'll stick to an insurance job. That's, I think, kind of adds a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for here? Maybe not yin and yang, but I think it kind of shows like, all right, well, God, this guy's really got to feel lost or out of the loop when everyone around him into this thing that he used to like but just can't get into anymore.
Yeah, well, that's like, just imagine you're the house that gets built next to, like, where Ashes is, and so on. And you're just like, oh, that guy right there, he became Ultimate Pokemon Master. Like, what are you going to do? Well, well, why bother trying, there's just somebody else who's always going to be better. Somebody else who's always going to want to be the best, I guess.
Exactly.
Though I always think, to me, when I look at Pokemon, though, is I feel like that's one of the most motivational stories that you could possibly have. Like, I mean, even just the Pokemon song itself, I mean, somebody could, like, kind of laugh at it, but, like, I think that truly, like, those words right there are, like, words to live by. It doesn't matter what you're into, just, like, think of whatever it is you do. It's like, you want to be the best, you want to be the champion, you want to go the distance, you know what I mean? Like, do it. Don't just sit on the sideline, be somebody, you know what I mean? Gotta catch them all. I
have the Power Glove version of that song on my workout playlist.
Oh, it's so good, yeah. I want to say, I found, like, because, like, ever since, like, Power Glove kind of came out, there's, like, all these other bands that are kind of similar to Power Glove, and, I just fell down, like, the Spotify, like, hole of all these ones, and there's so many neat ones out there that, like, do these sweet rendition covers and so on, but, no, truly those lyrics in there, I think, like, I kid you not, like, lots of times, I think about it probably every day, that song, ever since, like, the 4th grade when Pokemon came out, there's that song always kind of plays, and it's just that thing, like, whenever, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you know what I mean? You're making comics, you're making a video, you're working out or something like that. You think about that. Like, you got to be the best, you know what I mean? Don't let anybody stop you. You can beat the Elite Four. You can go to the top. You can capture Mewtwo. Who's stopping you? And
I feel like shit out of Gary, who you named asshole.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? That guy that lived next door to you that you fucking hate. Yeah, that guy too. Fuck him. You, at the very end, you could kick his ass down the stairs and you could become the champion.
That's what I do like about the original Red and Blue, or Red and Green, whatever version you're looking at, because the kid that next, like, because you have your best friend next door, but then a lot of times maybe he wasn't the kid next door, maybe he's the kid across the street or on the other side of the court, who was just a fucking asshole, but you hung out just because you had no one else to hang out with. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things like, yeah, they get it. They fucking get it. And then you play them, but then they make them like, oh no, we want to promote good sportsmanship. Like, no, fuck that guy. I don't want to like this guy. I want to hate this guy.
Yeah, that's my only kind of complaint to like about the last couple generations of Pokemon is they've just tried to enter like instead you got your 2 friends that come along with you. You know, you got your dumb fat friend who's like, hey, I just want to go eat and catch Pokemon and hang out. And then you got sort of your competitive, like friendly competition one, and it's like, no, bull fucking shit. I'm in this by myself. My friends are my fucking Pokemon. And that guy across the street from me is a fucking asshole. And you know what? He ain't gonna fucking change. Let's just get used to it because those people exist in the world.
Yeah.
And I feel like that teaches, there's so many good lessons that come from that original Pokemon that I think that like by trying to like PC it up and seeing like, you know what, we can all be friends. Like that's not how it works. Like I think sometimes adults need to be told that like when you try to tell a kid that you guys should just all be friends, that only ups the animosity. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. Maybe you should just go out like into the backyard like it's a dojo and just Ryu and Ken fight it out. Oh, here's a good example. Like in The Accountant with Ben Affleck?
Oh yeah. Where he's like, now you go beat the fuck out of those kids.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like that. It's just like that's how you're gonna fix this problem. That's what you sometimes got to do, and I think that like we've sort of lost that in the weeks that society is like it kind of goes on. Is that every once in a while there's just people out there that are just assholes, and there's only one way to really deal with them, and it's to go full on primal. And maybe after that primal moment, it stops it. You know what I mean?
Well, back in the old days of Pokemon training, they had to do something like, all right, boys, let's keep it clean. Let's have a duel right in the street.
Yeah, exactly. Or that's like there's that one Pokemon game that came out on like I think DS, where it was sort of like Final Fantasy Tactics or something like that, and it was like ancient day Pokemon, so it's like when they were using it like Japanese warlords and their Pokemon battles.
Yeah, I want to say maybe I'm wrong here, but I remember hearing about that game, and I want to say they're actually historically they took actual historical figures from Japan from their warlord days. Like this guy would have a Growlithe on his team, something like that.
That's like once you go back in time and be like, hey, in the future, this is what people are gonna think you were carrying around with you the whole time. Just show them a picture.
Or first thing, just show them like, all right, there's a lot to take in, but I want to show you this video game. What is a video game? Yeah, we'll get to that. I'm just gonna show you this. I'm gonna show you a couple 200 episodes of this anime. What does that mean? You'll find out. I'm
gonna show you 200 episodes. Shit, you're in the olden days. You got time, right?
Yeah, and then you can move on. And then I'm gonna show you this thing right here. That is you. He's just like, I want the Charmander.
Yeah, after watching 200 episodes, I don't want Growlithe. I want Charmander. It's like, no. But the Growlithe fits your personality. Fuck you. How do you know me?
Next thing you know, that time traveler's head is on a pike somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but
he's like, I went in with good intentions.
Yeah, I just wanted to show him the drawing I made of him that I thought was cool and flashy and hip. But yeah, that's like one of those ones. Like, I think that's always kind of cool. I think there'd be something to be said about going back in time with Pokemon. Like, even if you did like a normal Pokemon game, but like it took place in like ancient Japan, like that'd be kind of cool.
Well, I'm curious to know how they captured him back then. They just start capturing like, oh, dude, we were able to catch him in the 90s. This is the first time we were able to capture him. Or did you have to get him to like you first, and then I'm wondering how they got him, because we can't imagine them throwing Pokeballs back in maybe 70s at most. I mean, it's an alternate world. It's not our world. So.
Yeah. Well, this is the way I kind of think of it. Probably in the olden days, you didn't capture him with a Pokeball. You literally just capture him with a lasso, drug him back to your camp. It's kind of like that scene in the Lost World. You going to capture the dinosaurs, except for picture that on horseback.
Yeah, I could see something kind of like that, Or well, then again, everything's replaced by, there's no real, that's weird, because they would have regular fish and sometimes regular birds in the anime, but then they would not have dogs or anything else. Everything else was Pokemon. So there's probably already some already domesticated into society. So okay, we'll train this one to tackle that one and then beat him until he likes us, I guess.
Yeah. I always say that's kind of weird in Pokemon. I mean, I get it. When you only had 150 Pokemon, that's just not enough to have certain animals and so on. But I think it's now that we got 700 and whatever Pokemon out there, I think it's almost I like the idea that these are just all the animals. This is all there is. There isn't tons of species. It's like everything sort of evolved into these select group, just to make it kind of simple in a sense, and just to make it this is this world. You know, at the end of the day, that's it.
Did they ever have any game or episode of the show explaining how they got there, explaining what Pokemon were, or if they were something else altogether? Like if they, this is what animals evolve into, or they replaced animals or something.
I've never seen that before in anything Pokemon like that.
Because when they're eating a cheeseburger, are they eating Tauros meat?
That's what I always assume.
So if they're eating fish, chances are they're eating a Goldeen or a Magikarp?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, man.
That's what I like to believe it that way anyways. As I think, to me, it's weird that, like, Pokemon are separate from, like, other animals. That just seems like weird, like, animal... Like,
a higher class, weird structure right there.
Yeah, so I just like the idea that Pokemon are just Pokemon, you know what I mean? And just...
I think it was maybe this thing they kind of wrote themselves into a corner with. Like, it's a mouse Pokemon. It's this, it's that. Like, how do we put a mouse in this episode? Why the fuck we put a mouse? We put a Pikachu in there. And they reach this point, like... You never showed these other animals. These other animals there? Oh, no. Then why? How do they know what the fuck a dog is? Let's talk about a Growlithe Pokemon. Don't look. Fuck you. Don't look too hard into it. Just go with it.
Yeah, that's how I sort of feel. I feel it's one of those ones. I mean, like, yeah, you can sit down and kind of like contemplate it and break it down, but I like to just go. You know what? Let's just keep it kind of simple. Put it on an equal playing field, and that's sort of what it is. But I still think that, like, almost like if you had like a samurai style, like, tradition, played like a traditional Pokemon game, but just had like an ancient feel to it, you know, and then maybe like, yeah, you just have to think of like, I don't know, like a lasso or something to capture a Pokemon. I don't know how else you would do it.
The Wild West Pokemon game would be interesting because there are different regions that are meant to be based off, like, oh, this one's based off United States, this one's based off Europe, this one's based off Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, you could, but I just think just like an ancient Japanese one. I mean, I know that's always a tough sale, I think, especially nowadays, because, you know, it's like one of those ones, I don't know what it is, like, it's always, I think it's like ancient Japan, just, it's one of those ones, when it comes to America, that appeals to like a very small percentage audience of who loves, you know, samurai and kung fu movies, is like the person who likes the ancient Japanese stuff, and maybe sort of like the kind of mythology type stuff, but beyond that, like, I think just the regular Joe is not always into like ancient Japanese things. Because you always think about whenever there's an ancient Japanese game, I'm not saying it might not sell like, you know, bad, but like it never is like, oh shit, this is like the game of the year, you know what I mean?
Unless it's by that Dark Souls guy.
Is that ancient Japan? I always thought those things were like medieval knight type stuff.
Well, no, the Dark Souls guy, he just put out that one called...
the Seiko or whatever.
Sakuro, something like that. That's apparently by the Dark Souls guy.
Oh,
so he's doing the whole Dark Souls thing set in Japan.
Okay, well, now that one probably gets away with it because it's already got the Dark Souls behind it, so people are just buying it because it's a Dark Souls game. You know what I mean? That one's almost kind of like, I guess you say it's kind of cheating its way into that genre. If that came from some other company, I bet you would just do like, it would do decent, but it wouldn't be like, you know, amazing. You know?
Mm-hmm. Well, going back to Pokemon for a second, I'll say this movie right here, even though I have some complaints about it, I still liked it. And I didn't like it as much as I thought it would. And, like, there wasn't as much humor in it as I thought there'd be because... Or I didn't find it as funny as I guess I thought it would because a lot of the best jokes are already in the movie. And that's not to say that...
The trailer?
Everything... Yeah, or in the trailer. That's what I meant, yeah. Like, all the best jokes are kind of already in the trailer. And that's not to say that the rest of the movie isn't funny or enjoyable, but it's kind of one of those things where they put so much into the trailer, because if you've seen the trailer, you already see all the locations they go to in this movie. Maybe you don't know all the ins and outs of it, but you know nearly every spot they go to at this.
Yeah, I will say, because this is one of these movies that, like, I kid you not, this was the #1 movie I was looking forward to this year, more than anything else, and I knew that probably wasn't going to be the best movie of the year, but just the whole idea of it, like, I don't know, it just kind of kept growing. Because at first, like, when they announced, oh, it's a Detective Pikachu movie, oh, okay, that's an interesting way to go about it. Oh, and Ryan Reynolds playing Pikachu, oh, okay. But then once you kind of saw the trailer, it's like you sort of saw the magic, and you're like, you know what? Maybe they got something going with this. This might be something really sweet. And, I mean, walking out of the movie, like, I still really enjoyed it. And this is probably a movie, like, I mean, I like Pokemon enough. And I actually kind of have this, like, urge to want to go see it again. It's that weird thing where it's like, I know it's not, like, the greatest of all movies. It's like, you know, here's the thing, Avengers Endgame's probably better, but for some reason I kind of have this, like, I could go see Detective Pikachu again right now, too.
Well, plus the Pikachu's not 3 hours.
Yeah, I think there's always that, because that's the always thing about the Avengers. Like, I'd love to go see that again, but I have to really, like, sacrifice a whole day for that one. But,
yeah, that's the thing about that one. I'd love to see it. I mean, that might be... I'm not sure it's my favorite movie of the year. Avengers is up there as one of the favorites, definitely by this point. And I probably like that. I know I like that more than Detective Pikachu, but Detective Pikachu I think would be easier to take in just because there's a lot of stuff just to look for in the background, and it's a short movie. It's like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those ones where it's like, I probably will buy that one like day one when it comes out, just because. It's like, why not? Who knows? Maybe it'll have some cool special features. I mean, you can only hope, and so on.
The only thing about it, and I know that there are video game movies that we both like, and I guess we were all hoping for this one to be the one to reel everybody in and just get people to shut up and stop saying every video game movie sucks or whatever. And like, okay, look, if you don't like the Mario Brothers movie, I get it. I love that movie, but if someone else doesn't like it and they didn't grow up with it, I kind of understand where they're coming from to a certain extent. But regardless, I love that movie.
Yeah.
So, but we're still kind of waiting on that movie that kind of captures both fans and people who've never played one of these games before. And I think the closest one we have to that is Silent Hill, and that's not even my favorite video game movie. I just think that's the one that comes closest between that middle ground. Now this one right here, I think this is probably the next best one as far as just kind of capturing both fans and casual people who never played any of these games. At the same time, though, people are walking away saying, "Oh no, it's good too. It's okay. I didn't really get it, you know." So, but that's better than what like, "Oh my god, every video game movie sucks," you know, like you hear all the time.
Yeah, because because that's how I feel. It's like I feel like we're waiting for like the Dark Knight of video game movies, like the one that's just because that's really like. At the end of the day, I mean, granted, like, whatever comic book movie is your favorite, but I feel like Dark Knight's one of those ones where it's like, that's like a pinnacle, like, full-on, good movie all the way around. Like, not only does it capture everything you want from Batman, it's got great action in it, anybody can jump into it and kind of get it, you know what I mean? And then to top it all off, it has, like, almost like an award-winning feel to it. Like, it feels like this is just, like, not just, like, a blockbuster, awesome, cool action movie, but, like, something that could be, like, oh, it's actually, like, high-class material. And I think that's just we're waiting for something like that for video game stuff. And as you said, Silent Hill, I definitely think that's the most, like, accurate feeling video game movie, but it's a horror movie, so it's never going to appeal to that many people other than people who like horror. So there's always that kind of, like, downfall there. No matter how good you made a Silent Hill movie, it's only going to appeal to a certain audience. That's just the way that kind of goes. But we've been saying it, like, I think ever since, because Prince of Persia felt like it was going to be the first one where it was going to kind of break that ground, where here's a blockbuster video game movie that will not only, like, and it won't just capture just the video game fans, and it won't just capture kind of like just the action kind of horror fans that kind of what happened with Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Doom, Tomb Raider, because those ones sort of fell into like, well, okay, yeah, like they'll capture the video game fans, and then maybe action and horror people can also jump into it too, but it's not going to have as a wide appeal, even though Tomb Raider did get pretty close, I guess, for at least that time period, because you kind of forget how big of a movie that was when it came out. The first Tomb Raider. But,
yeah, the first Tomb Raider, that one...
That was pretty massive.
That was one that... It was a massive movie, but then a lot of people didn't like it when it ended.
I guess that's kind of... Yeah, there's people out there that just don't like anything. But
I'm just saying that there's yet to be... This is probably the closest thing to a video game movie that people like, oh no, it's pretty good, to like, or being like, it's okay, to, how do I put it? Like, it's okay to like, oh no, I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now, and don't take this as me saying this is saying how good a movie is, because I don't, but this says overall general consensus of how people feel about it. Right now, it has a 63 on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not trying to give Rotten Tomatoes credit, but generally that's one of those things, because I think their rating system's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But 63, that ultimately kind of, I think, says what most people are going to have generally feel about the movie. I don't think it's always a measurement of quality. It just says, okay, well, people seem to be like it, but not love it.
Yeah, that's what I call the middle of the road kind of movie. Like, it's good, it's solid. There's nothing really you can complain about to it, but there's also not like a ton to like take home either that's going to be like, oh my gosh, that movie was something else. So, granted, it's one of those ones, like, maybe like soon we will kind of get there, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be that movie, I think, at some point that will finally kind of get it. And I know that they've kind of like, it's like the Prince of Persia, because I remember that was the one that I remember when that was before that came out, we're like, shit, that's going to be it. They're going to finally get it. It's going to, cross paths. It's got tons of money being pumped into it. And then it was kind of just, generic, and it is what it is. I kind of want to see it again because I haven't seen it since we saw it in theaters, and that was sort of at that time period where like we're filmmakers, we got to be a lot more critical on things. Think about it, man.
Sorry, sound went out for a minute, but I'm going to guess you... What about Prince of Persia?
Oh, I just remember, like, that was the time period we saw that, when we were kind of, like, in that critical, like, we're filmmakers, man. We got to be a little bit more critical on it. I almost want to give that movie a second watch. I'm not saying it's going to change my mind, but I bet you I'd watch it and be like, okay, I liked it a little bit more than the first time. Not saying it's amazing, but whatever.
I just remember Jake Gyllenhaal in a spray-on tan, and every once in a while, oh, yeah, we have the time thing I forgot about.
Yeah, they did it, like, twice in that movie or something. And then it's like, they did the Assassin's Creed one, and then that one just focused on all, like, the boring aspects of Assassin's Creed. Like, get them out of the goddamn fucking future and go to the past. We are not here to see the stupid fucking, like, whatever they call that system. The, whatever. That part of Assassin's Creed, that part's just silly. Nobody cares about that. And then it's just like... There was like one... Well, there was the Warcraft one that actually I thought was really good, but that movie just sort of... went and gone, and that was it.
I watched the first like 30 or 40 minutes of Warcraft last time I was in Sonora. I saw that it was in I was like, one of those like on demand kind of things. Like, oh, let me check this movie out. And I'm watching it, and all the stuff with the orcs at the beginning, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm digging this. And then once they got to the human stuff, it came to a grinding fucking halt. And I'm not gonna lie, all the human shit, I didn't finish the movie. And like Ben Forster is one of my favorite character actors and all that, but he looked like, what the fuck did I sign up for? And then there's like the one guy they find who's just like out of nowhere. He was like somebody that like, I remember there's like the one young guy with like a mustache. He's like, you're a mage. He's like, oh yeah, like you're a part of our group now. And then like they're trying to put him in, like trying to put this guy in like a bigger role, and he's just like, kind of just there out of nowhere, and I'm just like, fuck all these human characters. I don't give a shit about them. Go back to the orcs. The orcs was interesting. Fuck these guys.
Yeah, no, the orcs were definitely the best part of the movie, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, once again, I have it on Blu-ray, but I haven't watched it since the theaters. But I did. That was one of those ones where like, and I didn't know if that was one of those weird kind of like, I would say like the Guardians of the Galaxy sort of thing when you don't know anything about it and you go into it, you're like, oh, this is pretty fucking good. And there's probably that fan sitting there like they got it all fucking wrong.
Well, I heard fans say they liked it. That they just overlooked a lot. They're talking about a lot of lore stuff because this is where hell of that fantasy shit in there. I'm like, I'm sorry, you ain't speaking to me, and you don't have to speak to me. But this shit, it just sounded like someone at their D&D table. A lot of the shit they're saying. Yeah, well, it definitely has that feel to it. But I just thought it had a cool look to it. It had a great color scheme. The action in it was neat. The characters I thought were still pretty cool overall. Like I don't know, I was pretty. That one felt to me like it had the potential to be that one. It's just for some reason, it must have just came out at a weird time. Because I still can't really figure out why that movie didn't do so good. Because I think it was still riding the wave of like The Hobbit, but somehow, some way, it just kind of came and went, and that was it. Well, even for what was I gonna say? For like Detective Pikachu. Sometimes you hear some of the stuff that was gonna happen or what they were gonna do. And then you hear studios getting cold feet. I'm like, why are you guys so fucking stupid? I know you guys didn't grow up with this, but it doesn't take a whole lot of research to realize you have like a golden egg on your hand and you just kind of chucked it out. Like, how many times they had a Halo thing in the works and then they're just like, oh, we don't know. We don't know if it's profitable. And I know it's not the same studio doing everything, but it's like a Halo movie got made, almost got made, then got canceled. And yet, what else got made? A Hitman movie, a Blood Rain movie, like these two Hitman movies, and like the Hitman movies were close together. Blood Rain, there's like one Blood Rain movie went to theaters, the rest went straight to DVD. So
but still, I'm just saying they're out there.
Yeah, so it's one of these things of like a bunch of, and like the Assassin's Creed movie, which that's a big franchise, but it still kind of looked like it was a very small budget compared to other things going on. So it's like, you guys don't realize what you fucking have sometimes. And like Sony, Avi Arad, and Amy Pascal, they secured rights to a bunch of Nintendo stuff, including Pokemon and Mario. And remember for a minute when they were talking about Sony might do the Mario Brothers movie? Mm-hmm. Now it's one of those things like at some point, like, we don't know if this is all financially going to work out. So we're just going to auction off a lot of these rights we had to things we got. Like, a bunch of Nintendo properties, including Pokemon and Mario, because we don't know if we can make money off those, because that one Mario movie did bad back in 93. It's like, do you guys have fucking Google or Bing? Can you just Google some shit and look how many people like this thing, know what the fuck this thing is?
Yeah, I just don't understand. Sometimes, like, one of these ones, like, do these, like, producers just not talk to anybody other than everybody in, like, the high-class producer, like, realm? It's like, it's almost like they're a bunch of Jedi sent the Jedi Council and they, like, never fucking leave Coruscant. So they got no, like, idea of the outside world. It's like, come on, like, this stuff, it's like, all you gotta do is just do a badass fucking film. Like, just make it an awesome movie. Don't try to pander it. Just literally just make it the best version you could possibly of it, and it will work. It's like, You know why the game works because it does? Is because the game is fucking amazing. If you just do the movie as a fucking amazing movie, it will work. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like, yeah, it's almost like, it reminds me like people that's like, these people that sometimes get these jobs. It's like, do you guys like, it almost reminds me like you came off like from another planet that never had multimedia. And it's just like, here, how about you start running this?
Well, they even had like, Sony even had Sonic the Hedgehog and they auctioned that off to Paramount. And don't get me wrong, that movie does not look good. I'm hoping it is. We talked about like last episode or episode before. It does not look like a good movie. But I think there is something there if you just don't try to like, well, why is the hedgehog blue? Why? Well, if he ran fast, it makes sense if he had more muscular legs, right? No, don't ask those fucking questions. Don't try to make sense out of something that already doesn't make sense. Just kind of come up with like a, fun adventure movie out of that. And if it is a little crazy and over the top, just kind of have some self-aware humor like this movie did, like Detective Pikachu did. Now, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be with that humor. That's not to say it was a bad movie. It was still a good movie. Mm-hmm. But at least it had the right idea. It was going the right direction. I guess my only big problem with the movie is there are moments where it feels like it could be a movie for anybody. And then there's a moment where it feels like, well, it's Pokemon, so it's for kids, right? Because that's where, they have the one, I was going to say this earlier, but got off topic. There's the one guy who is Bill Nye's son, and he was just so overly bombastic. Like, well, my dear, tonight you got your first show and your big story. I expect you to come in at 7 o'clock sharp. Okay, all right, And then the whole over-the-top bombasticness of some of the characters, and then how muted other characters would be, just seemed a little off balance. And not just that guy, but other people throughout the thing. Mm-hmm. But, so.
Well, it's like they even tried to combine, which I thought this was kind of cool, but sometimes when they would show, like, all the old Pokemon battles, it had a very, like, anime feel to it, which I thought was neat. But I almost feel like that anime feel should have been the whole movie. It's almost that kind of thing that, like, you should just own exactly, instead of trying to, like, almost, like, water it down, because that's always what it feels like they sort of do in movies, is they just water it down. It's like, well, if we're afraid if we go the distance, people might not like it. It's kind of like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It's like totally, it's watered down. At the end of the day, that's the best way to kind of say what it is. It's not full Sonic the Hedgehog. It's like, let's give it like the 25% like feel. And I just feel like, here's the thing. Why is a good game a good game? Is because it's awesome. People like the character, they like the world, they like the music, they like the story, they like all these elements. Don't change like what people love already, you know what I mean? Just do what it is, and like don't ask stupid questions. I feel like that's always like film school stupid stuff. Like you should question everything, why it happens. It's like shut the fuck up. No. Some things in life don't need to be questioned. Just like why does it look like that? Because it looks fucking awesome. You know what I mean? If it's awesome, I feel like that's all it needs to be said. We don't need to try to break down everything and try to make it like realistic and like what's this character thinking when he walks in the room? That's stupid. You know what I mean? It's not always necessary. There's a time and a place for it, of course, but just do literally. It's like the same thing. You could say the same thing with both video games and comic books. It's just like just do literally what is on the page or the screen, and you would have a hit, like guaranteed.
Well, even me saying something to the effect of like it would switch between silly and serious. It's not. I mean, I guess I just prefer if they stayed more consistent with the tone. Because the beginning of the movie, there's a little bit of a sense of like, oh, it's kind of like a Spielberg movie, sort of. There's kind of a sense of wonderment. These two, not kids, but these two young guys are running through the field trying to capture this Pokemon. I kind of liked how, it still had this thing. Because Pokemon always feels like to me like, okay, you got this bunch of small little towns spread throughout the area with no real major transportation, not a whole lot of major transportation, and just you got to walk there. You got to take like a little like beat up car. or it's a big city. That's how they kind of feel. And this movie opens up with that same kind of vibe because you see it, they're on the outskirts of a town by a barn. You see Pidgeotos flying around and all that, and like, oh look, a Cubone, and it just like, oh wow, I've been waiting to see this since I was like 11. So, and then they still seem kind of like self-aware and funny enough throughout that, and then they had the intense stuff, which was good, but then you just had the, like I said, the overacting in certain scenes, which kind of like it would seem to be kind of conflicting with one another. But it's not enough to ruin the movie because they still knew and understood the franchise and these characters enough to get the main point across.
Yeah, no, I still think the movie itself is still pretty solid, even if it's got a couple like weird choices, and it's like I still had a good time. It's definitely one of those movies I could see watching, and maybe it's like one of those ones as time goes on, because now there's that sort of thing. Like, we know what the movie is, okay? It's not like we kind of like have our expectations. So now probably going back for a second viewing, I might watch it and be like, you know what? Okay, if I just accept it for what it is and this is how it's going, there we go. It's overall pretty darn fun. And I still think it's a stepping stone. You know what I mean? I felt like we keep getting these stepping stones that are supposed to lead to like a plateau of just awesomeness where like, everything a video game movie is going to be fantastic, and you know what I mean? Like, they'll all be great. Where like, I feel like comic book movies are pretty much about in that place. Not saying that they don't kind of falter here and there every once in a while, but it seems like in about the last 10 years, comic book movies, I would say on average, most of them are pretty darn good ones. You know what I mean? There's always a couple ones where, you get something like a Venom, you know what I mean? Or like an Ant-Man and a Wasp. It's just like, oh, okay, well, that didn't really seem to make it as much as others. But for the most part, it's almost like when a comic book movie comes out, even if it's like not even like Marvel or DC, it seems like even if it's other ones, you're guaranteed that it's like you have a high chance it's going to be probably pretty good.
Yeah, and this movie right here, I'm not even going to say it's a stepping stone. It's like, okay, this is actually literally a step up the stairs, Because every so often, it's like, oh, well, it's kind of a stepping stone, I guess. We're all just kind of waiting for, like, the elevator by this point, not even stepping stones. But this one's like, okay, no, this is actually a few steps forward. This isn't like, oh, that one wasn't like a huge leap, but I definitely saw progress in the movie. Actually, no, I'm going to say this movie was a leap. Not a huge leap, but it was a leap in the right direction where video game movies need to go.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, I say stepping stone, I don't mean it to sound like small, but I mean, it is definitely like a good forward, but it's not like we still got a ways to go. That's kind of the thing. We're getting closer, but it's just, it almost needed a couple more steps to finally get there and just be like, oh shit, here we go. Here's how it is. But at the same time, really, this is the perfect example of a movie that like pretty much a Detective Pikachu 2 or whatever you do, even if it's like, because this movie kind of ends in a nice, like, I hope that they don't just try to like, let's make a trilogy out of it. Or it's like, no. Just use this as like, okay, here's one part of the world and let's do another Pokemon movie that just happens to be in another part of the world. You know what I mean? And now we can go full Pokemon. The only downfall I feel that this is where they sort of wrote themselves into like the corner is by using Ryan Reynolds as the Pikachu voice. Because now the general audience is going to expect that probably in everything.
Yeah, they just got to get better with the writing in upcoming movies then. That's the only thing they got to do. But I heard that there's...
Well, I don't mean like writing-wise. I just mean like people are going to expect Ryan Reynolds to be in all these Pokemon movies. Like, he's going to be the Tony Stark of this. I think
I'm saying to make up for it, you got to get like some good writing for the characters and make something feel kind of like, I mean, if you want to go full on Stand By Me with kids swearing and saying fuck and shit, and like someone's like, oh my god, there's a Pokemon on my dick, get it off! When he's at the part where they're the leeches after they were swimming or whatever.
There's a Caterpie on my dick! But,
dude, someone says to talk to him. Dude, just pull the Caterpie off his dick, leave him alone. And there's the part where they're crying. He's like, I was in class the other day and Professor Oak yelled at me and I didn't even do anything. He's such a fucking asshole. That gets really intense. They're looking for like a dead body. They get there. Oh, it's Gary.
Yeah, just like one of those ones. But yeah, there's all those kind of things you could do, but like it's almost like this goes to like the ending of this Detective Pikachu movie. What they really should have done, I still think, just because seems like what they're going for, it's been like, hey, your dad's a Pokemon now. Get fucking used to it. And just kept this kid with his Pokemon being Pikachu, and then I felt you could have easily continued it on. Where now, I mean, I guess this is the other way you could kind of do it. Where like now since they like rekindled their like family tradition or whatever, now it'd be like Ryan Reynolds would be like, okay, boy, you're gonna stop this fucking insurance salesman thing. This is stupid. No son of mine is gonna live in the Pokemon world and sell insurance.
Well, here's a question right here. I'm wondering, because this isn't the film school thing. I imagine they probably have insurance for Pokemon. They probably have. Like maybe that's one of the things that jaded him from doing it. Because like, oh, I can't get a Charmander. That's a fire hazard. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can get a Squirtle if we have a hardwood like ground, because if we have carpet, we have a Squirtle, those things splurt water everywhere, and then we got to get renter's insurance for that shit. So that's going to cause damage, cause mold. So it's one of those things like, and Growlies, I like Growlies, but I mean, you know, if a kid goes up to pet a Growly, they'll let him smell his hand first, you could set the kid on fire. So we got to get pet insurance for that shit.
Well, yeah, because it's like, you know, in America, you really can't rent very many homes if you have pets. So let alone if you got Pokemon.
Unless you're keeping the ball all day, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I feel like that's where it kind of comes to, like, okay, you're keeping the ball. I feel like that sort of... when they're in a ball, it's like a Tamagotchi. You know what I mean?
When you got it in the ball and take it out, imagine it's kind of like Robin Williams. Like, what year is it? You capture like a Rattata just for experience out in the wild, and that thing goes on a shelf. It comes out years later, it's the apocalypse, and it's left to wander alone.
Yeah, exactly, one of those kind of things. But like I almost feel like let's just say, like, I guess this is the way you could kind of go with Detective Pikachu too. Where Ryan Reynolds is like, boy, I love you. Take my Pikachu. You know, I mean, go out, explore the world, do what Daddy always wanted, do what you always wanted to do.
I mean, I don't think they're gonna. Who knows if they're gonna do another one, or if he's like, I got stuck in this Pokemon again. But the whole thing about that was, I think they're dynamic. Where if you do another Detective Pikachu, I'm not trying to write Justice Smith out of the movie, but you got to get someone else in there, because now it's just be like, Dad, son. That's gonna be the relationship the whole time. You got to get the whole like someone else in there, you know, so that he can talk shit to.
Yeah, you kind of definitely need that, because that'd be fucking weird to have the Ryan Reynolds personality be like his son now.
Because he didn't know that that was his dad. It's been years since he even talked to his dad. So it kind of makes sense that maybe he didn't know that was his son, or first he had amnesia, so he didn't know his son. But it makes sense that the kid didn't really recognize him or think of it immediately like that. Mm-hmm. So, but moving forward, now they know that that's his dad. It'd be kind of weird, like have him say all the same exact shit, not now knowing all that. So, but I think that what I heard was they mentioned a possible another Detective Pikachu, a movie about Mewtwo, and then a 2-part series focusing on the Kanto region. First one being red, second one being blue.
See, that'd be kind of a cool way to go about it. Like, because I even thought, like, if you really did the red story, it would be the perfect, like, 3-piece trilogy movie. You know what I mean? Like, do it like, the best way to say it is do it like Lord of the Rings. Like when they do Lord of the Rings, they ain't going into that movie starting to write their own fucking scenes. You know what I mean? They kind of follow the book as is and just make it more, like, action-oriented and so on. So if you just did the same thing with Pokemon and almost did it, you could even do it in a 3-piece. You could do red, blue, and green. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
You could even do it, like, I think you could do it in 2 pieces.
Or even red, blue, and yellow, if you wanted to call it like that.
Maybe that would make more sense to
for
do
American
it in 3
audiences.
Pieces, I think it makes sense to go on the first 3 rather than 2. Now thinking about it, because you got
it's more of a trilogy then too.
Well, you think you got the first 4 gyms, you got the second 4 gyms, then you got the Elite 4, then you got the Elite 4, whichever challenges come afterwards.
Well, that's one way you could do it. You could do it like 4 gyms. And then do another 4 gyms, and then really make the Elite Four seem really like, you know, a movie in itself. And, you know, you'd have some other stuff in there too, but then you could really make those have the classic trilogy feel where, like, you have big battles and, you know, make it feel kind of action-packed and, like, it all kind of comes down to this, you know?
What if you did something where, the first 2 movies are what they are, an adventure movie where you got the first 4 gyms in each one, and then the beginning of the 4th one, or the 3rd one, you get rid of the Elite Four right out of the way. Kind of get done with them pretty quickly, and then he beats Blue or Gary or whoever, and then it's kind of like Raging Bull. He's like, what's my life now? What am I doing? I peaked out at 12 years old. What do I do now with the rest of my life?
Well, yeah, you could do something like that where it's like, well, like the kind of answer that question of like whatever did happen to Red, you know what I mean? Like, why is he out there fucking like hanging out in Mewtwo's cavern waiting for like the kid from Gold and Silver to show up?
Like something like that, yeah. No, I think there's something you could still do with that. Maybe not even like, I think that would be an interesting thing to answer. I'm not trying to be a smart ass or anything. I mean, maybe not the whole literally Raging Bull thing, but maybe get this movie, like, by that point, like, you did all this. What do you do now? And then, like, you know, kind of like where everything else starts off real big and gets big and bombastic. Do kind of like this, some kind of like an art. I mean, there's still action throughout it, but do kind of an artsy kind of subtle thing where it actually gets kind of smaller. Like, oh wow, what do I do now? You know what I mean? Kind of a little reflective.
Yeah. Like yeah, just like have the movie where it's like almost like the first half of the movie feels like it's the end of a movie, you know? So it's like you got like, yeah, there's the big battles and he defeats Gary, and it's like he defeats Gary like at the halfway point in the movie. So it's literally has this feeling like, oh shit, the movie's almost over. Like, what do you do with the rest of your life to kind of like double up on like that, you know? And maybe then he kind of like, you know, has give it like a Japanese feel, like, because I feel like it definitely would need that. Like, you know how like sometimes like a samurai movie has those, like, and even anime has it as well too, where there's just those like a lot of reflecting moments kind of thing that you just don't get that nearly as much in American cinema. So I feel like if you had that in there, plus since it is Japanese, it just makes more sense. That's what the second half of the movie is. Like, yeah, there still is action and so on, but it almost like changes complete pace halfway into the movie. That'd become a ballsy choice, but I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, well, by that point, depending on movies there are, I mean, like, this is the one we're gonna get ballsy with it. Well, I'll say just starting off in Detective Pikachu is already a ballsy move, so kudos for that. And once again, I wasn't trying to be too harsh on the movie. I actually liked it. There's just some things, like, it wasn't as like, you know, the leap I was hoping for, but at the same time, still a really fun movie.
Yeah, and I think I'll say this too. Like, this was one of those movies where I went in with like super high expectations. Like, I was getting super excited about it, and
so was I. I was going with pretty high expectations, not gonna lie.
And, you know, and I probably built that up myself. I mean, granted, like, just they had cool marketing with it and everything like that. And yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, I still say it's like, if I'm giving it on the Leonard Maltin scale, like, I probably enjoyed it like a 3 out of 4. You know what I mean? Like, I actually did quite like it. Because, I mean, and that's probably a lot of being just a Pokemon fan and just being able to see it, like, you know, almost like you would say the fan service of it all. But yeah, I liked it. I mean, I definitely will buy it. You know what I mean? I like to see it again. Yeah, it was ones like, I was almost hoping it was going to be like movie of the year. I know that's probably not at all like what it was ever planned to be. But no, I still think it's cool. I still think it's fun. It still has great jokes in it. It still captures like the Pokemon feel and vibes and puts all kinds of characters in there and so on. And I think hopefully what it just does is it sets up this world, since it didn't change anything of the past in a sense, like it just kind of added to it, that we can kind of go back into, like, you know, even if we did like a prequel and be like, hey, okay, Detective Pikachu takes place in the future, so now let's go back to the past. Let's go get Kanto, you know, and...
Well, the thing even had this whole... I like the part when they're going into all the stuff about Mewtwo. I did like whenever they, like... Because every so often when you're watching a detective movie, they're trying to figure out, like, all right, how'd this happen? And then they're reading some documents, and it just, like, plays back the scene. Kind of like, oh, this would happen after they read it, or somebody tells them. But this was like, no, we just found this YouTube video. We're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Because whenever they get exposition, like, oh, look, a video file. Here we go. Oh, it's a hologram. Cool. But I like when they had the whole scene where they're going over Mewtwo. I was like, okay, in this movie, I guess this is how Mewtwo got made. And like, oh no, Mewtwo was made 20 years ago, and he escaped a facility in the Kanto region. I was like, oh shit, okay, so this is like moving forward from Red and Blue, and this is just where it is now. This could take place in the anime. This could take place in the games. Yeah.
That's what I think is the smartest part about it, though, is the movie does do the thing where, like, it literally is a part of, like, the whole universe. So, like, you know, after you just played Sun and Moon, this game probably is, like, right there. So I do give it a lot of credit for doing that, because pretty much almost any other video game movie would have totally just, like, erased all that and then made their own version of it. As I said, they would have been like, oh, it's Pokemon. Well, where does it take place at? Oh, it's in Toronto or something like that, you know?
He's like Ash doesn't come from Pallet Town. He comes from Brigsby, Montana, or some shit like
yeah,
that.
Just some podunk town out there. It's just like, oh, okay.
Where you going? Where you starting from, Ash? Riverbank? Like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Ash Ketchum of Riverbank, California.
So that there is those kind of things too. So I'm glad that they didn't do that. They just literally played into the world, and they just kind of kept it really like, yeah, this like they didn't break any almost of its own rules in a sense. I mean, like they could put it in its own town and region so that, you know, they can do their kind of own thing there. But beyond that, though, they were not trying to like ruffle any other feathers. So I think that's the smartest part about it, which I hopefully hope just leads to making only bigger and brighter Pokemon movies.
Yeah, same thing here.
But yeah, definitely worth checking out. No reason to skip this one. I know there's like copious amounts of films coming out, and it's like this is that point where it's like it doesn't stop. Like just a movie every single Thursday night until like God knows when. But yeah, make sure you see Detective Pikachu if you have yet to see it. But had tons of fun with it. I'm gonna own it. But till then, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, comic books, music, all that fun stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
See you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comix Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comix Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again, we're out of here.